I'm not upset. I'm disappointed. I wonder what it was that tripped us up so bad. The poor positioning? The abysmal shooting? Lack of basic game knowledge? Or running headlong into avoidable deaths because I forgot to check my ego at the door? Well, whatever it was, with all those deaths came the death of the Diamond Dream. Yeah. Well, there's always next season. And with the end of season 20 and a fiery need to improve after my piss poor performance in Platinum this season, it's time to make some serious improvements. And the best place to start? Well, honestly, back at the basics, because I still suck at those. So here's my 10 basic rank tips for new Apex rookies, like me. And apparently still very much a YouTube rookie. I thought about 2 more after I finished recording the video, and yeah. Anyway, here's 2 honorable mentions for you. I guess it's 12 now? Whatever. Number 1, your settings. Listen, I didn't exactly order the Oreos, so to speak, on going in and fiddling with your settings, but it does actually help a lot. So in the interest of helping out someone, here you go. For one, field of view, I like it turned all the way up. FOV ability scaling, just so your abilities don't screw with what you're looking at. Sprint shake, minimal. Sound, wow, this was a doozy and I never really bothered to fix it, but sound effects all the way up. Dialogue and music almost all the way down. I'm starting to learn the sound in this game is not the most reliable thing 100% of the time, so the more info you can get out of it, the better. And the one that's gotten me killed 90% of the time is taking damage closes a death box or a crafting menu. Just turn this off. Make shield swapping a nightmare and it's probably gonna get you killed. So just do yourself a favor and turn it off. I just turned it off and I thought I did, but I didn't, and moving on. And the second one's pretty straightforward. Use Mixtape to warm up, not unranked trios. Mixtape is gonna offer you far more chances to warm up for close range or long range fights. Meanwhile, you could run through 4 different unranked trio games and maybe have 2 fights the entire time. It just gives you more actual action and less downtime. I don't know why I never used it before, but ever since I started warming up there, my first couple ranked games of the day have gone significantly better. Except in Platinum, because I still got stomped. Yeah! Now with that out of the way, on to the meat and potatoes. We're gonna start it right off with POI, or points of interest. It's very important to know the names of these for a multitude of reasons, but there are 2 in particular I wanna focus on. The first, and the one I'm the most guilty of, is it makes your calls infinitely better. Instead of saying, hey, they're retreating over there, super helpful, right? Like tons of information in that sentence. You can actually say, hey, they're retreating to docks, hey, they're retreating to Oasis, or they're rotating through Turbine and coming over to Power Grid. Let's go through Energy Depot to Gardens. You can actually give out way more information if you actually have the POIs, because a lot of people will recognize them, and if they don't know them off the top of their head, just takes opening a map. The second, and arguably more important, is knowing the POIs for each map is going to tell you where the highest concentration of people are going to be. In this instance for Olympus, the most congested POIs off drop are going to be Estates, Fight Night, Energy Depot, Power Grid, maybe Hydroponics, entirely depending on where the ship comes in. And just from those that I listed, what do you notice? Besides the fact that most of these are also going to have some of the best loot, they are all central to the map. Even if you drop out and fly all the way over to Clinic, knowing where a lot of people land, you can make the assumption that if you rotate to Gardens, a team could rotate out of Energy Depot right in front of you. So knowing the POIs and knowing where the majority of people are going to land is going to help you also rotate off of drop. I'm not saying you have to memorize every single one before you start playing, but knowing some of the key ones really will help you out. That way you can rotate with confidence if you really didn't get the weapons you needed off of your initial drop. Sticking with relatively the same theme here and hot dropping into a very congested POI, the next basic thing that I am very guilty of is, for the love of God, when you land, if you land on 2 guns, ping one for a teammate if they're close by. Listen, I know the first instinct is land on floor loot, grab everything that's there, and then try to go find more loot somewhere else if a team hasn't already jumped you. But just from experience and kind of feeling it out, 3 teammates with 1 gun each usually goes better than 1 teammate with 2, 1 with 1, and 1 with none. Instead of losing a third of your firepower every time someone goes down, if someone picked up the only 2 guns in the area and he gets knocked, you're in trouble. That's an immediate retreat if the only 2 guns that were in your general vicinity were picked up by 1 person on your team, me, who then instantly goes down, me. You don't really have a choice in the matter. You can try to punch it out. I tend to lose those though. But logically speaking, the best course of action in that situation is book booty and get out. I feel like it goes without saying, you need guns to fight in this game. So if you don't have them, I'll race you to Rift, buddy. On a side note, because this drives me nuts, even though I'm usually the one doing it, if you win the fight off drop, don't just take everything out of the loot boxes, ping some things for the teammates. Half the time I'll just grab everything in the box and not really look at it it, and then I'm just throwing random gear around that I don't need or doesn't go on any of my guns, and I don't bother to give them to my teammates when they could have used it. Yeah, it's a mess. I really need to stop doing that. But see, we're learning here. To round out this little grouping of hot dropping POIs, let's talk about that first fight. And I gotta give a quick shout out to this guy who commented, because until he said it, I think I subconsciously knew it, but until he said it, it really didn't sink in. Which, by the way, if you see me doing something very wrong, tell me. Just call my ass out, because it's the only way I'll actually learn. Otherwise, I'm gonna be doing stuff like this, and I'm gonna say a bunch of stuff that sounds good and never do it. It's a me problem, I know. But anyway, in that first fight, there is a decision to be made. Do you need to make space, or do you need to take space? What I mean by this is if you land on guns, 3 teammates have a gun, you're ready to fight, and you get lit up by the other team that landed with you or other teams that landed with you, you need to make space immediately. I know there's that like glory aspect of fight it out, you can win, but you're down health already, and off drop, you don't have a lot to save you. And I'm guilty of this. I'll lose my shield and half my health, but I'm still running at the dude thinking I'm winning the fight. That's just not gonna happen. And the same is true for that situation on the inverse side. If you land, get a gun, and absolutely spray a team down, take the space and chase them. Now, obviously there's caveats to that. If there's 7 teams that landed around you, you might not want to just obliviously chase them, because they might run into another team and then you run into that same team and you're not ready for them, expecting a half dead team. They might already be dead. This team might have full shields. But yes, if you do damage in the beginning, try to take the space away from them or try to run them into another team. This is genuinely something I don't do well, but if you take a lot of damage off the rip, run. Make the space, get your shields back, re-engage. If you chunk 3 people on a team, take their space away, invade, go. Just do it carefully. And this again all goes back to POIs and where you landed. If you landed at a place where there's maybe 1 or 2 teams, you should be fine to try to just chase them down. But if you landed somewhere like a States and there's 7 other teams, even if you knocked one of them, just take a quick scan of the surroundings. And speaking of being that other team that always seems to pop out of nowhere and absolutely rip you apart, even though you didn't pick a fight with them, but they saw the opportunity, so they took it because they got the LP and you're back in fucking lobby. Anyway, let's talk about thirding and rotating. And bear with me on this one, because I'm not very good at this, but I'm gonna try to explain it through MS Paint. So here we go. All right, so let's say you're in Energy Depot and you hear a fight going on Gardens. There's a team up here on top. That's gonna be the team, leave me alone. And there's a team shooting at them from down here behind rocks, hanging out, and they're shooting back and forth at each other. So if you want to third this squad, you rotate out of Energy Depot and you wind up right about here. Now, here's the part where I always fuck it up. You know what? I'll ask you first. Which team would you go after first? Which team makes the most sense to you? Leave it down below. I want to actually see if I'm crazy here. So you have a team fighting high ground shooting down, and you have a team fighting low ground shooting up. Logically, everything is telling me to go after this team up here, to actually go up and try to steal their high ground. Now, and this is actually something that just happened, there's a few things wrong with this plan. Number 1, this team down here rotated out of grow towers and have their back to that area. Meanwhile, the team up top at Gardens has their back to this entire area behind them. Why I'm starting to believe going after the high ground team is a bad idea is because you don't know what's back here, or if someone else is rotating in on them as well, maybe coming out of Rift or Clinic. In my experience from how this fight went, the smarter idea would be to try to fight the low team. 1, because this wall right here, there's a little wall right here. This is a horrible drawing. This little wall right here would guard you from high ground, and they don't know you're coming. They're not expecting to get thirded. They already have their back to an area where they could get thirded from. They're not expecting this. I think the smart idea would be go down here, give them the little skippity paps, rotate around, then you can see if there's anyone over here. I hate this drawing. And if there isn't, you can re-engage this team and give them the skippity paps as well. And then your LP's up and it's a good day. But that's what makes sense to me now that I completely screwed that fight up, because we fought the team high ground and got murked by the team that was on the other building that had just shown up. So the point I guess I'm trying to get at here is when you're trying to rotate and third a squad, it's not just about the 2 squads currently fighting. It's about how bad of a situation can this cause where you in turn are the team that gets thirded. They could both turn on you if you're in bad positioning, you're screwed then, or you didn't take into account where they were fighting or where other enemies could come from. There is way more thought that has to go into this game than I signed up for. What the fuck? I'm over here drawing like general maps and shit. Now let's talk about being on the the other end of that situation. Listen, everyone loves third partying. Nobody likes getting third partied. So what do you do if you're in the middle of a fight and all of a sudden Horizon, Gibby, and Sheila's pack mule start lighting up one of the teams? Well, it's gonna depend which team they're shooting at. The easiest option is if they start shooting at the team you were fighting, stop what you were doing and get your shields and health back immediately. See, my dumb response to that 9 times out of 10 was, ooh, third party, I'm gonna keep shooting at everybody. So great, now I didn't take that crucial time to get my shields and health back to restart the fight, and knowing me, I've probably missed 90% of my shots. So big old goose egg on that idea. But yes, if the team you're fighting gets thirded, take the time to reset yourself, get your shields, get your health, reload, pick up some grenades if they're around. I know you might want the kills, but surviving's the goal, and we'll get to that. Now, if they start shooting at you, you're in a bit of a predicament because most likely both teams are now shooting directly at you. Now you got some options. All hope is not lost yet. You might have a teammate down who's not reachable. Your shields may be broken, and Lifeline's bot might be looking at you like, Jesus Christ, what the hell happened to you? Your best course of action is to try to disengage a little bit and get the third party to fight the squad you were fighting. With any luck, the squad you were fighting is gonna try to rush you, thinking that there's a third and now it's an easy kill. But more often than not, what happens is the third party is frantically looking around for you and they end up running right into each other. Now you're the third party. Maybe you can get to your teammate. Maybe you can pull off some sneaky little kills when they're done fighting. But the one thing you don't want to do is turn tail and run it into an open field. I'm looking at myself in the mirror right now. Usually my go-to is if I'm getting thirded and I'm getting shot up, I try to take off immediately like we already lost the fight. Even if my teammates are still alive. Don't judge me. I saved myself. But problem with that, you're gonna get out into an open field. One team's gonna be like, oh look, one of them is running, and the other team's gonna be like, not our guy, must be theirs. And they all just turn on you because you are a free kill if you're out in the open. So if the team you were fighting gets thirded, reset to deal with the third party. But if you're the team getting thirded, try your best to run them into each other or go John Wick, one of the two. I'm not capable of the John Wick shit, so I just tend to be like, hey, you two fight, I'm gonna go this way. Since we're on the topic of getting third partied, thirding other teams, how about we just avoid it? I didn't know this was an option until recently. This is pretty quick, but the thing to understand about Apex is the time to kill is extremely small. So just as a rule of thumb, if a fight is going on for way too long, I'm talking you guys have been shooting at each other behind rocks for the past minute and a half, it's pretty safe to assume you're about to get thirded or they are. And truth be told, if you're shooting at each other from maybe too far away and nobody's been knocked, you maybe haven't fully broken anybody, you haven't been able to take space because the cover's not good, it might just be a bad fight, and the longer it goes on, the higher your chances are of getting flanked. So a basic rule of thumb I go with is if the fight's been going on too long, I'm trying to calm and just say, yo, let's dip, this is taking too long. You're gonna get some pushback, people are like, no, we gotta fight them, but you can literally just say, dude, we've been fighting for 5 minutes, we're gonna get thirded, move. And from my very short experience calming, people have been like, good point. And hey, that's kind of part of the game. Sometimes you just take a bad fight, and it's just not for you, just dip, just leave. You have other rotation options that you can get back into circle. You don't have to go through this team. Typically, I tend to choose the screw it, rush 'em option, and that gets me killed pretty quickly, especially when my team's smart enough to know not to do that. But hey, I'm learning. I'm just a rookie, sorta. Rookie who got lucky. I like that better. Okay, I think we can get off third parties now. So let's talk about everyone else's favorite thing to run into in the top 5 squads. The Rat Patrol. Look, it's part of the game, I get it, and it's annoying, but there is a way you can deal with them, at least one that sort of works for me. And it goes without saying, but for the love of God, if they're ratted up in a building, don't go in the building. Running in the front door and getting caustic gassed and Sheila smacked down is not helping anybody on the team. Besides, they probably have a lifeline in there anyway, so now you're down a teammate and you're definitely not getting to them. And they got more damn RP from that. So here's a basic way to deal with them pretty much at any point in the game, unless it's the last 2 squads and one of them's ratting. That's a whole different conversation that I am not qualified to talk about. So essentially, the number one goal I go with when dealing with an entire rat team is just make them use their supplies as much as possible. This is why one of the original tips on here was pick up grenades, but I don't think I need to say that. I feel like most people pick up a decent amount of grenades. But yeah, chuck them through the windows. Try to tag them whenever you see them. Try to shoot down Rampart's barriers. Shoot Caustic's gas traps. Just do anything you can to do a little bit of damage and make them use supplies. Ideally, you want to make them come out of their rat hole. I mean, technically, the other option is if they're outside a ring, wait until they have to move and just take a little bit of ring damage to take them out. But if they're that far out of circle, just leave them there. All right, we're coming to the end here. But this one, This is the one that gets me killed a lot. So we all know that feeling. We all know that great feeling. You killed a team, they drop their boxes. Maybe one of them's yellow, two of them are purple. Oh, it's loot for days. You stick your nose in the box to get your goodies, and a team walks up behind you and murks you while you're looting. I'm just gonna call this looting to lose, and it's pretty easily avoidable. I just don't do it, and I really need to. Right after that team you just killed goes down, don't just immediately run over and shove your head in the box and go, ooh, lootations. Take a quick second, look around, make sure no one's running up on you or no one else had been sitting there the whole time just waiting for you to start looting. It's like crossing the road. Check your left, check your right, check your left again. Okay, take a couple items and then look around again. And are you gonna miss out on some loot you might have needed? I mean, yeah, maybe, but if you get killed, it doesn't really matter. Since I've kind of fallen into the category of I pretty much only play support characters, typically when we get a squad wipe, I'll just let them go loot and I'll just keep an eye out for a little bit while they're pulling their stuff out. Believe it or not, it's actually saved me and my team a couple of times, so it's worth doing. Got a squad wipe, they stuck their heads in the boxes and they didn't see the other guys coming. But then, hey, ping, 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 they jump out and now we're shooting at that team. We got 2 squad wipes, so more loot is a good day. But yeah, if you get a squad wipe, just take a quick look around. Some teams know to wait if they see a losing squad and they'll literally have their sights on you for the second you stop by that box. Even if you keep moving, if they have you lined up, you're lined up. All right, I got 2 more for you, and I feel like these last 2 are gonna be a little bit controversial, but especially coming from someone like me who only's played 2 seasons is gonna make this statement, but whatever, here we go. Listen, if you're stuck in the metal ranks, let's say between silver and gold, where is pretty much my skill level realistically, you need to play the meta legends. And I know the biggest argument to that is it's the player, not the legend, which yeah, has some merit if you're an absolutely incompetent player, but in reality, the meta legends are that for a reason. Typically, a squad of all A or B meta legends is going to have far less gaps in their team comp than a team that just picks whoever regardless of what state they're in. I'm not saying they're gonna win every single fight. If you're a bad player and with bad teammates, you're still gonna lose. But a Conduit Bangalore Bloodhound with any type of game knowledge is more than likely going to outplay a Crypto Ballistic Newcastle team. Just to give the examples here, Conduit, Bangalore, and Bloodhound have an array of options in a fight. Bangalore's ult makes space. You have to get out of that area, or at least it's gonna lock you into one area for a couple of seconds. She also can smoke off choke points so you can get away. They won't go into it because they don't know if you're standing on the other side of it. Conduit physically makes it hard to pass by choke points because you're gonna get zapped by her ultimate, and she can reheal your shields twice with the upgrade. And Bloodhound Scan tells you where the team is, and when she ults has a permanent digi, so the smokes don't matter. Meanwhile, Crypto has a drone that gets shot out of the sky the minute anybody sees it. The EMP is helpful if it hits, but most people see a drone suspiciously flying towards them, they're gonna run away in different directions, and it's not really gonna help. Ballistic's ult makes you not use the ammo in your inventory. That's great. You still have to reload. I'm not even entirely sure what his Q does, but I've never worried about it if I got hit by it. And Newcastle gets a shield while he's rezzing teammates, gets a shield you can move with, but it can be shot down pretty quickly. And his ult's pretty good for a rotation, but you can't take your team with you, so they still have to run to wherever you jump to. Not to mention it's stationary. I'm not saying don't play your mains or the legends you know and love the most, but if you're trying to climb, there is a case to be made that playing the meta heroes and closing those gaps in your team comp will go further than just sticking to the one thing you think is the best. Because I mean, we gotta be honest, with the Evo system, some of these legends are in a really bad spot. And I don't know what the hell Alter is gonna do to that meta, but we might see some fixes that make different legends much more viable and some of the really good ones not as viable anymore, considering Wraith and Ashe just kind of got kicked in the face. But anyway, she does look fun though. All right, last one, I promise. You know, if anyone stuck around to now didn't click off the minute I said meta and legends, which yeah, I know it's not a fun thing to talk about, but it's got some merit. So the last one I don't think is that bad, but I think a lot of newer players miss it, myself included. Kills are important, yes, but surviving is the goal. Look, the game is the most fun when you're just rushing teams the entire time and fighting 90% of the game and doing very little downtime. I don't disagree with that, but in ranked, your goal is to live as long as as possible. When it comes to the RP rewards or penalties, there is a diminishing return after a certain amount of kills. Most of us are never gonna hit that, but helps make my point here. What gives you the biggest increase is surviving the longest and making it to top 5, top 3, or winning the damn game. So yes, while kills are important and fighting is fun, but when you get sent back to lobby early because you took a stupid fight just because it was a fight is kind of counterproductive. You want to live, you want to stay alive as long as possible, you want to potentially win the game. So taking every single fight that comes your way is probably not the best option. And look, I'm entirely guilty of this because I'll take pop shots at people who didn't even know we were there, and if I hadn't shot at them, they wouldn't have turned on us and absolutely roasted us. Because I know, you want to fight, it's the point of the game. But unless you are 100% certain you're gonna win the fight you walk your team into, it's probably just best to avoid some fights. And look, maybe ranking up isn't your #1 priority. That's perfectly fine. Maybe you're just having fun with your friends in ranked. I mean, you could do that in normal trios, but anyway, then by all means, if that's what you're here to do, go fight, go have fun. But if you are specifically trying to just rank up, you need to weigh the outcome of, if I take this fight, am I sure I can win it, or is it smarter to just go to ring and figure it out from there? We don't need to fight this team, but we can if we want. It's just a matter of choices.